Hello and welcome back to MDG Media. We are excited to be bringing you round 2 front nine coverage of the 2024 Belgian Open here on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. I'm Connor Wood, and with me, Finnish superstar Elias Luukkonen.
Oh, superstar already. Thank you, Connor. Nice to be here once again after the round one where we saw some impressive scores by the field. 12 under as the leading score.
No doubt the pace has been set already at double digits here. The weather intermittent throughout the weekend with rain, showers, and wind. These guys are going to be put to the test. We see coming into round 2 our current leader, Lätt, representing Estonia here, 12 under.
That's a great score. And Teemu Lampainen also super good with a 10 under. He's a well-rounded player and quite young, only I believe 19 or 20 years old.
Joining them in third, Nestori Tuhkanen. Really well-rounded player that's known to have all the skills required to put himself at the top.
And Davidsson this year going unsponsored before he was a Discmania teammate, deciding to go for a mixed bag for this year.
We'll kick it off here on hole number 1, an island hole at 74 meters downhill par 3. Really polarizing, often resulting in a birdie or a bogey. If you miss the island, you'll proceed to the drop zone, which is a downhill death putt from about 13 or so meters. It is makeable, but very treacherous to run, and this is really a good hole to get your mental game sorted at the start of your round.
Latitude 64, starting at 12 under par. Let's give it up for Lätt.
It's a great starting hole because it's in a way so easy. 65% of the field is actually birdieing this one. And Silver looking to be a part of those, and he will most definitely. Nice harp sidearm there, just 4 meters away.
Finland, representing Kiekko Kingi and latitude 64, starting at 10 under par. Let's hear it for Teemu Lampainen.
Teemu coming in just 2 shots behind the leader currently, and another player who has all the skills but hasn't been so active in terms of international competition, has had great performances in Finland, and you see that almost finding himself in the chains there. He's
From
absolutely
Finland,
pinned it.
representing Nestori and latitude 64, starting at 9 under par. Let's hear it for Nestori, Tuhkanen.
And everybody besides Silver are actually very young on this card. Both Nestori and Daniel are born 2003 and Teemu 2004. Nestori here with a really steep hyzer. You can see the soft ground not giving too much skip, really allowing for
From
that
Finland,
hyzer finish.
representing Tampereen Frisbee Saura, starting at 8 under par. Let's give it up for Davidsson.
And you mentioned Elias coming in unsponsored in terms of a disc manufacturer this season, but already finding himself on the lead card, able to throw whatever plastic he would like. And a good result there from our lead card, playing as one of the easiest holes, if not the easiest. Hole 1 is really, I think, more of a mental obstacle than the shot itself.
Yeah, for sure, and even some of these short putts can be nervy, not for the lead card though. Everybody is quite close, just on the edge of the bullseye. Yeah, as you mentioned, Daniel, being able to throw anything he wants, and I can tell that his bag is super crisp. He has all of the most amazing discs in there, and kind of really challenging that thought. I feel like the standard is that everybody has to be sponsored by one manufacturer, but maybe it's the new meta to almost go mixed bag.
I think everyone would agree, no matter what preference you have for a manufacturer, each of them have their gaps, and to be able to fill that in with other discs that you love could be really valuable here.
Yeah, and that's a great start for the card. 4 birdies on a hole 1, kind of to be expected. It's the 4th easiest hole on the course, and off to a good start. We're moving on to hole number 2, which is a much more difficult birdie, though there is less bogey potential, 131 meters. The best shot is pretty much a dead straight backhand. Most players are going with a fast fairway driver or a distance driver thrown pretty low. We might even see a forehand from Silver, as he's known to have a nice, big, powerful forehand.
No doubt it does shape really naturally for that left to right moving shot. We see here a chase card check-in. I believe that is Oyvind Jærens off the tee with a beautiful soft flexing shot and hits the tree just long. Exactly how you throw this hole for the right-handed backhand player.
And Saku Poikonen, one of the more unknown players from Finland, but he has a massive sidearm, and just look at the power. He has gone long with a standstill. How crazy is that?
And he's good for the comebacker. Another feature of Saku's game is that strong spin putt. He really fires them in from any distance, not one to lay up or hesitate on the green either. And you see that power player style coming in handy for him here on hole 2. His chase card. Getting one of the harder birdies here, I'd say. Hole 2, definitely a bonus birdie on the front 9.
Yep. We'll see if our lead card can match. Silver, as expected, going with that forehand, but this one is a little bit high. He wanted to get that more out to the left, challenging the right side OB, and I think that's gonna be trouble for him.
Teemu also pushing to the right side. Will need to find some fade to a comeback inbounds, and both of those guys are really at the edge of the OB line behind those trees. We'll have to see how fortunate they were on a kick or not.
That's a bad release out to the left. Luckily for Nestori though, this hole doesn't have that much danger unless you're fading really far left, so he should have a pretty simple par from there. And Daniel, this is a good shot for him. Not this shot in particular, but usually he's very good with these powerful fairway driver shots.
Are you surprised to see Daniel throw a backhand there? Of course he's comfortable with that as well, but known to be a really good player on the forehand with angle control and power.
Yeah, I think this one might be just a little bit on the edge of Daniel's range. You know, he's more of a control player with the forehand. As you can see there, nice approach, both from Nestori and Daniel. And Silver looks to have gone OB on the drive and still has some work left for the bogey. That's not the putt you want for 4.
Definitely not, although inside the circle, Teemu here having to do a wide patent pending just to create some sort of Anheuser angle, and no more than 20 meters from the basket. He's having to throw really soft, but you see that in his head a little bit there. Left with this tester. And a great statement to make that putt. Looking like he saved his par, not going out of bounds, whereas Silver, I believe, did.
Yeah, that's a good putt, and I believe that's something that you can kind of build your confidence on. Silver here also probably getting a little bit less confidence with that putt as it is for bogey, and he's gonna be back at where he started the round.
So we can see already through the front 9 some 4 unders, 3 unders, 5 unders even once you start getting towards the back 9. We'll see if the same pace from yesterday is able to be met today. Another birdie opportunity here on hole 3, a 106-meter par 3 over this pond. There is the initial gap, although it doesn't really come into play. You have the fairway narrowing on the left side as well as OB on the right. A lot of players will opt for a hyzer flip with a late turn, crashing the right side rough here and trying to settle it on the green. You can go for a very straight look, but the danger here really is to fade out left for the right-handed backhand player, so much so that some people might even choose to shape the forehand just to end right. Another chase card check-in here with Morten Brenna.
Yep, he's usually very strong with these straight shots, loves that slight Anheuser release, and you can see just why. He's gonna be in that very common landing spot on the right. Looks like not too badly obstructed, able to go with a normal putt. And that's a good birdie to get. It's not a birdie that's very commonly gotten. Only about 1/4 of the field actually getting the birdie here.
A little bit surprising. We see Teemu now on the box, getting that hyzer release to flat ride. And just beautiful, laced it down the middle, was not in danger at any point throughout the flight. That is quite an ideal shot.
And Nestori here, I would expect something very similar, though this one is left challenging the OB. He is going to be OB unless he got a good kick out of there. You can sometimes hit a trunk of the tree, you know, on the edge of that OB line, but otherwise he's gonna be OB and playing 4-4.
Daniel here pushing the right side OB. It does open up after about 80 or so meters. You have more width to the right. Anything before that, an OB right comes into play quickly. I would guess he'll be obstructed but likely safe given the speed and distance which he got.
Yeah, I think so. You know, that right side OB is much more forgiving than the left. And Silver here, knowing that, rather playing it to the right side of the basket, and he's gonna have the similar putt as we just saw Morten Brenna make about a minute ago.
And a little bit of a fast green here. You see the basket perched on that stump. Everything around it is pretty hard packed. So if you don't land your disc flat to the ground like Daniel did there, you can pretty quickly stand up. We'll see Nestori now tested on this comeback putt.
And this should be for bogey now. And good make. Nestori, as we kind of talked about this in round 1, these baskets really favor that downwards finishing putt, and I feel like Nestori has got that pretty well dialed in.
Teemu watches that one fall in. It lingers for a second in the chains, but on the pole, he stripes it. Solid birdie. Well done from him.
And a bogey for Daniel. As I said, 4th of the field getting the birdie, about just above 4th of the field getting the bogey as well. Hole that can work as a good separator. That's gonna be a good birdie for Silver. Kind of going back and forth with the birdie, bogey start. On the front 9, that is debatably a little bit easier than the back, especially for our far throwing players.
Certainly really rewarding. Good technical placement shots. And hitting your gaps paramount here at the Braine-l'Alleud disc golf course.
Yeah, for sure, and that's gonna be the theme also on hole number 4. 97 meters, this time playing slightly uphill, so probably playing even a little bit longer than the last hole, even though the meter-wise it's much shorter. This one, it's pretty much a perfectly dead straight shot. You can throw a slight forehand flex if you want to, but most players are going for a straight mid-range. The green is insanely muddy, so there are no skips and the putting can be a little bit difficult. Let's see Morten here. He's going a little bit left. This needs to slow down before the OB on the left side, and does. He's gonna have that edge of the circle putt for birdie.
I think really understable disc for him there. Found a very late flip in the fight in the flight off a steep hyzer angle. That one coming up just a little bit short and right, will be in some of the muddiest areas.
Ville here from way outside the circle.
What a beauty.
That's incredible. Ville Ahokas, he's a great putter, has that nice slow nose up spin putt. You know, really pleasure to watch. And let's see Morten here. He's going to be on the edge of the circle. Well done.
Chase Card is not messing around here in day 2, looking to make a push going into that final round.
And that's also, I have to say, Ville actually was coming straight off from a double bogey. So quite good composure there. Let's see if Teemu can hit this gap. Trying to go pretty much on the right side. That's going to be a good, at least in the circle, though that's kind of the muddy range that you really can't use your legs from.
No doubt you likely will have to adapt the putting form, not pushing off the back foot. Some players will opt to go to a straddle because of that mud. The staggered putt really not offering you much from the legs. Silver with a bit of unforced error there, getting it on a lot of hyzer. You mentioned, Elias, the forehands most naturally shaped for the flex shot, and we saw little to no anhyzer from his release or flight. Nestori pushing the left side but fights through, and look at the speed on this thing, even goes long, catching some leaves along the way.
Yeah, well played shot there, not fading too far left, even though I believe he missed the line a little bit. And Daniel, this is just a perfect forehand hole for him. He loves those flip-ups. And he's gonna be in the circle, I believe, just inside the edge.
Honestly, he did make the forehand line look pretty simple there. Silver just doing what he can to lay up to that elevated. Some branches there really obstructing the look to the green. If you do go OB right, the par save is sometimes not possible. Teemu, stone cold for the birdie. Similar spot to where Ville was. I think Ville even a little bit further, but same angle for both of those guys. And seems to be a good one to find the birdie.
Yeah, and you saw Teemu going with a straddle there. Not his normal staggered stance. And Daniel here, let's see the weight transfer. A very slow weight transfer, and you can kind of see he was a little bit hesitant on the feet.
To isolate the arm more during the putt requires a good understanding of your body and of your putting routine and mechanics to be able to adjust on the fly to circumstances like this, where if you're very leg heavy in your preference for putting, you have to adapt it.
Looked like Nestori had a pretty good stance there. It looked like he went with a normal putting stroke and a good putt there. I feel like anything really outside of 5-6 meters on this elevated basket is pretty nice. And that's gonna be, I believe, a bogey for Silver after finding the right side OB. Not very commonly found, honestly, on this hole. I feel like the left side OB much more often comes into play.
I would agree. It might be due to more players opting for the backhand, but absolutely the right side is actually quite tricky to find after hitting the gap. Here we are on hole 5, a 172-meter par 4. The initial shot off the tee is a straight shot, softly rightwards finishing, shaping very naturally for the big power hyzer forehand shot. Anything near that path that we just flew over is a good indicator of a landing zone you want, where you then have a straight look in the tunnel under the low ceiling with a width of maybe 6 or 7 meters the whole way up into this green. Once again, very muddy. You can really try and throw something pretty fast into the tunnel. It will often slow down, either through trees or mud.
And talking about muddy, even the tee pad is quite slick. You can see Teemu there looking down on his feet. I think his supporting leg kind of slipped there. And that's going to be a tough place. No chance for birdie and pretty good chance for par. It's not the longest of holes. And the rough on the right, while it can be thick, you can definitely get out of there. This one is much better looking, good distance, good angle. He's gonna have just a straight shot to the pin, about maybe 70 meters from there.
I would say that's about the sweet spot. Daniel, great forehand player as we touched on, actually opting for the backhand roller. This is a line which is considerably more aggressive, but you need to ensure not to flip too much to the right or go too straight. And he's done just that as well, adjacent to where Nestori is at the moment. And you mentioned the mud on this tee pad, Elias. It really is that players are simply tracking it from the green of hole 4. By the time they get to this tee, it's tricky to manage.
Yep, for sure. And this forehand from Silver is too straight. He's on the left side and you can't really see the angle from here, but he will have to go for a very steep forehand anhyzer if he wants to get to the green from there. A tricky shot. And Teemu there just pitching out. He has a better angle, but still gonna have to throw a left bending shot.
Daniel with a straight look down the tunnel. Finds the hyzer release, but doesn't flip it up to flat as much as he would have liked, although he's certainly up there and putting for birdie. It will be slightly obstructed. Looks to be about circle's edge. Teemu with an opportunity to shape the anhyzer forehand here. Looking to find some late stability.
And that's just beautiful. That's really a shot that Teemu has always been good at. Remember, I was playing against him in the Finnish Junior Nationals about 5 years ago, and he was already very good at that shot. Nestori showing that he can do it as well. All of the Latitude players really loving that harp, I believe, for their forehands.
And Silver just finding himself back into the fairway now. And with the jump putt up there, you see the dangers of going too straight off the tee. A lot of players, as a result, will play something pretty overstable to ensure that rightwards movement. Daniel with a stepper from the bushes. Solid birdie save after a not ideal upshot, but does everything he needs to find that 3.
Yeah, well done there, and good adjustment on the putt. Daniel is someone that has practiced all sorts of different putting styles, even has changed his putting style multiple times in his career. Nestori there, well done from the bushes. He's on a decent pace. Anytime you can get, 1, 2, ideally even 3 under par through the first 5, you're doing really good.
I would agree, with the exception of maybe 2, which some players are okay taking a par on. The other 4 are certainly holes that everyone's going to be attacking for birdie.
Yeah, it's really the next 4 holes that are going to make the front 9 the more difficult of the 2. As we see, Teemu pulling to a 1-stroke lead, already has overtaken silver for that first spot on the card. And moving on to one of the trickiest holes on the course, hole 6. 165 meters, a beautiful par 4 where you can see the basket all the way from the tee. You're trying to throw a dead straight shot off the tee, hopefully trying to get just over this path. And from there, whether you're more on the right or the left side of the fairway, you're gonna have to shape a straighter shot, or sometimes a little flex or a little hyzer. And to this green where you have a great backstop in front of the green, so you can throw your approach to the hillside and always stick inside of 5 meters.
A lot of players opting to disc down and just get their putter 80 meters twice in a row on this hole. Nestori with a very early release. Unclear how much progress he made, but certainly not the gap he was looking for, although did make some progress most likely. We go to Daniel. Flipping up that late drifting forehand.
Looks like he did hit something at the very end of the flight on the left side of the fairway, but that's going to be a fine spot. If you can just make it mostly through the first tunnel on your drive, you're going to be pretty happy. And Teemu has done that beautifully, great skip. And even kicking to the fairway, that's going to be a nice spot. He's not going to have much more than 60 meters left from there.
Totally agreed. That is an ideal landing zone. You saw him disc up to try and push the distance off the tee. Silver, I believe, as well, getting the driver out, but this is fading too far left too quickly, turning rather too far left too quickly, and he will be again significantly pinched from the second tunnel that he needs to access. Daniel with a great result off what looked also to be a slight misrelease, but you can see the rain is falling. There was some wind throughout the day, and on one of the trickiest holes, progress is the name of the game here on 6. That was a very solid shot to make it to the mound of the green.
Yeah, that's some great progress. He was pinched on the left side, but able to throw that sidearm and hyzer, and Teemu showing what a good drive can get you. That's a routine approach. And this is not the route you're taking on this hole usually. You have this walking path on the left that can kind of act as a backdoor. I believe Silver didn't make it to the circle, but he's gonna have a putt from there.
You can see he's still not with a clear look to the basket from that backside alternate path. As a result, does just have to lay that one up.
And what a great birdie save. Nestori after the errant drive, I believe he got a good break off the tee getting so far down the fairway, but that approach was fully his own achievement. And getting a birdie on this hole is great. It's not the hole that you're gonna see birdied a lot of times. Only about 11% of the field getting the birdie here.
This green can play deceptively difficult. Of course, getting there is already a struggle in its own right. But with the mud and the obstacles and the slight mound, you can find a little bit more difficulty here than some of the other greens, although these players all making sure to put it close. Will proceed on to hole 7 as Teemu begins to separate now a little bit. 4 under through the front 6. Great pace. Here we see hole 7, an 84-meter slightly uphill par 3. You have this initial tunnel to contend with, and this late line of trees probably about 65 or so meters off the tee. A lot of players will opt for this rightwards gap where the drone is flying, or even left of the tree we're passing now, but the goal is to hit the gap and find yourself either adjacent to the hillside or at the steps bottom, putting upwards. This one, even with a good shot, you can not make it all the way. Commonly, you'll need to make a good putt to find the birdie.
And another chase card check-in with Øyvind Jarns here. Trying to hit that gap that Connor was talking about, and he has done so, though that's a very common result. Hard to stick it to that hillside off the tee, but a great putt finding that left corner pocket. That putt, even though it was only 10 meters, probably played closer to 13 with a great uphill slope.
Most definitely. We come back to our lead card, Nestori here. Looking for a backhand hyzer flip, but pushes the ceiling pretty immediately and filters through to a fortunate spot. I think the tee shots of both 6 and 7 being quite favorable to him off a slight misrelease, but he'll certainly take that.
Yeah, just about capitalizing now. I feel like that's what the American commentators say all the time, you know, it's all about capitalizing when you get that good break. And Teemu there with a clean shot, hit the gap. You know, it's all about hitting the gap and hoping that you miss the one tree in the middle, and he was able to do both of those things. This is the, I guess, cleanest route of the tee. Forehand flex, there's really nothing in the way, but you can't park the hole doing that.
The best you can get from that maybe intended line is to the bottom of the steps. Silver as well shaping the flex, and you see him kick off to the left. He'll have a long putt at it. The backstop up on the green is very forgiving, so a lot of players will even from further distances try to throw it in if they're not within putting range. We go to Daniel first. Going to be looking at a stepper uphill.
And a good looking run, kind of denied by the leaf probably. And let's see, Silver looking to be very aggressive. That's exactly what happened. Went down to the second step, but that should be fine, just about 4 meters left. Now, the really separating putts. If you can make this one, you're getting a stroke on a lot of people, but that's not going to be the case for Nestori.
I think certainly not a hard hole to par, but quite a demanding birdie. Elias, what do the stats tell us?
There's only about 15% of birdies on this one, and the majority of the field, 2/3 of the field, getting a par. So quite often on this hole, you're hitting some trees, probably not getting into the circle. Might have that long look from underneath the stairs, but not a lot of players are making it. So it's kind of an interesting hole, you know, because there isn't really the clearest route to the pin. It's really separating more on the putt than on the drive, I would say.
Would totally agree, and I appreciate the unique green design here. This terraced green offering some new challenges for players that they might not be as comfortable with, but certainly challenging the best here in Europe.
Yep, for sure. And you even have the, what is it called, the train track just on the right side of the green.
But I thought they would have one that is with the... No, I'll do it again on when they're putting on that.
Moving on to one of the most routine holes on the course, hole number 8. Just 80 meters. It is a basic straight putter shot. Nothing else to it. Need to throw your straight putter. Watch out for going too long. We see a lot of players getting that putter a little bit high up in the air. Need to avoid doing that. Keep it low to the ground. Hopefully, even in this muddy ground, you will get about 5 meters of skip. And this hole is exceptionally easy. 2.6 stroke average, with half the field getting birdie.
As we go back to Ville, pushes the ceiling, but finds his way nicely down the middle. Just a little bit short from those obstacles. Saku as well, shaping the straight, low-speed disc. And off a touch of Anheuser, fortunate kick back into the middle. Both of those guys about circle's edge.
Morten Brenna here, more on the Heiser side. None of them really getting as close as they would like. Gonna have to make some good putts here. Saku from about 16 meters, and look at that, another strong spin putt. That's really the range that he can separate himself from if his putt is on. That's kind of the classic thing with the strong spin putters. If your putt is on, you're going to make it from anywhere.
Ville certainly on today here in round 2. Very nicely done as he too finds the heart. We'll get to see Morten here slightly closer, but obstructed off the tree. Will have to go to this wide straddle, open up his angle. But just like that, you can see these players at the top making short work of this 80-meter par 3. And the left side, I will say, is more forgiving than the right side rough. A lot of players opting for that soft hyzer shape.
Yep, for sure. And even I feel like the fairway is kind of pulling the discs to the left. So you can see this flat shot at the end is probably going to bounce more towards the basket than towards the right side. Teemu there going to be in the circle, but still not quite as close as you would like to be. You'd really love to park this hole, as it's so easy.
Nestori with a slightly overstable low-speed disc shaping the Anheuser forehand. Looks like a slammer to me, although not so sure. Daniel also playing the stability with a late flipping forehand. Hugs the inside a bit, but again, you can see all of these sort of filtering towards the green.
And Silver here, his struggles on the front kind of continuing. Not the cleanest shot, and he's going to have to settle for a par there. I'm sure he's not quite happy with how the front nine is going, but luckily for him there are many good chances on the back. Daniel there, bit of a pull on the putt.
Teemu with a chance to find his birdie. And a very clean putting stroke from him. Not too much acceleration or timing issues, just very simple. Brings it back and pushes it out, one motion each way. Good refined putting style. You see the slide on the mud there from Silver as he sets his feet. And he's still sitting at even through the first 8 holes. Some of these players at this point in chase or further cards already pushing to 7 and 8 under in the round by holes 12 and 13. So not sure if Silver was checking the scores this early on, not necessarily a need to, but if he were to, he'd see that the field is putting quite a pace on his score already, coming in at 12 under. We see just that here, some 7 unders already recorded through 13 holes from Kevin Consor, for example, and Teemu already continuing to push ahead into first place at the moment. We'll continue here on hole 9, a 183-meter par 4, but despite this shorter distance, one that you will very rarely find the birdie on, you have this initial gap, the fairway bends then softly to the right, sloping uphill, where you have many obstacles along the way. You then have to position yourself to look down this second tunnel towards a softly sloping and slightly muddy green. Another shot that is really fast on the green despite the mud, and you'll need to control the pace. I think 4 is a very fine score for a lot of these players here. Elias, talk to us about birdies on 9.
Birdies R9 are almost non-existent, but there are some of them. In round 1, I believe we saw only 4 birdies. Today, about the same. I would say the conditions are a little bit tougher in this round 2, as it's raining and the course is getting even more wet. But the players here are showing the normal shot. You're trying to hit a sidearm just around or inside the light pole of the tee. Daniel did it very well. Nestori a little bit too inside.
Speaking of inside, Silver as well looked to not be making it around the corner, but the speed of his disc pushed enough to get through cleanly with a pretty huge skip. He's actually in a fantastic spot, despite his shot not looking like the intended line. And Nestori bombing the tee of the next shot, getting it too straight and not finding the leftwards fade in time for the second tunnel. This is a popular way to try and shape the second shot as well, but I think just a bit short of where he'd like to be.
Daniel, this is a great look at the second shot. Unfortunately hit some trees early, but had he missed that, he would have actually had a good chance to get all the way to the green. And even Silver here, tough stance, but if he gets this to glide towards the left, he can make it.
He's done it.
This is a great shot. Even a little bit long off the basket, I believe. No, just a little bit short, but that's incredible. He's putting for the birdie.
2 incredible forehands, and it is not often that you'll see someone that close putting for their 3. Not sure you can execute the shots much better than Silver has done here. And at a crucial time where he needs the birdies to try and keep up with the men here on this card and chase card as well. Daniel with a good controlled shot. Very nice speed control there to settle it right by the pin. Nestori trying to use the width of that second tunnel, but not able to get through cleanly.
And Teemu here just settling for the bogey. Not much else you should do from there, though Nestori with a great run at the basket. Bogey here is really not a bad score, as unfortunately I really wanted to see that birdie, not just for the sake of the coverage but also Silver to get his round started.
No doubt to create that opportunity and not capitalize might sting a little bit on a hole this difficult, but 4 is a fine score here. Although not if you're trying to push in the lead. Really every stroke matters, and at this point, as we close out the front 9 of round 2, that is the halfway point of this tournament. 50% of the holes behind and the other 50% ahead. We see the current standings. Teemu Lampainen with a fantastic 5 under front 9, even with that bogey on the 9th hole. Nestori Tuhkanen at 3 under, Daniel at 1 under, Silver at even as we head towards the back 9.
Yep, and even though both Silver and Daniel aren't having the hottest of rounds, the back 9 is very scoreable even in these wet conditions. Come back and join us for that if you want to see some more birdies, some longer shots. Thank you, Connor. It was a pleasure.
Always, Elias. See you there.